We have major breaking news today out of the US Department of Justice. This is awesome and this is huge. Over the last week or so, we have been on an absolute tear in the Second Amendment community. This goes from 34 ATF rules being changed to 2 days ago, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon suing Denver over their assault weapons bans. Well, we have another one. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon has once again announced a massive lawsuit. But there's even better details that I think you're going to appreciate, especially as it relates to DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I know, of course, a lot of my audience is from that area. And this is a huge, good, positive sign for us. I'm going to get into all the details in just a second. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing, and let's get into it. All right, so what did happen? Okay, so obviously, there has been a lot thrown around about all the actions Harmeet Dillon has done, and yesterday was another big one. As you can see here on Twitter, she announced the Department of Justice sues the state of Colorado. Obviously, Denver's in Colorado, but this is a completely separate lawsuit for unconstitutional weapons ban. Colorado's ban on certain magazines is a political virtue signal, signaling at the expense of Americans' constitutional rights to keep and bear arms, said Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, under my direction, and she goes on from there. Okay. This is a phenomenal sign, and there is no other way to read it, right? And I have a clip, and I'll play for you this in just a second, and this completely reinforces this point. The reality is, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon and, Attorney General Todd Blanche, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, are on our side. There is no doubt they're on our side. There is no other way of reading it. Now, do they want to abolish the NFA? Probably not. Probably not. But do they stand against things like the assault weapons ban, extended magazine bans, all of the red flag laws, all of these sorts of laws? 100% they do. And here is the reality. And I made this point yesterday. I'm going to make this point again. There is in the entire Civil Rights Department of the Department of Justice, right, which the Second Amendment subdivision is a subset of that, there is something like 350 employees. So for the actual Second Amendment division, we're looking at 20, 30, 40 people, 50 maybe on the upper end. There are so many state laws that the reality is it is going to take a while. Even turning the floodgates on, and using a little bit of ChatGPT, it is going to take a long time, and that is just the reality of the situation. Here's Harmeet Dillon, though, essentially alluding to this, saying she is going to get around all the states. We know she's looking at Virginia. It is coming to Virginia as well. Watch out, Spanberger. She's coming for you. Here you go. Here's the clip.
So with the success of this lawsuit, does that send a message to other blue cities? And do they go ahead and strike down their own laws, or do they wait for pressure from you?
Let me tell you something. This is one of those stubborn areas where the law is already clear, for example, that Virgin Islands, which I sued recently, can't require citizens to jump through extra hoops to get CCW permits, but they do. And so I'm not seeing blue states voluntarily comply with the law. They want to be sued. They want to fundraise off of this. It's a popular issue on the left, taking away people's guns. The president has very eloquently just this week talked about the people of Iran and how the fact that they're disarmed is an impediment to citizens, defending themselves. And we don't want that here in America. And in fact, it's contrary to our historical tradition. And the Supreme Court has ruled that all firearms regulations in our country have to have some basis in historical precedent from the time of the founders. And so where we don't have that, I mean, I've personally gone to court and personally argued in the Seventh Circuit against Illinois' so-called assault weapons ban. And so again, we're waiting for that ruling. It's been a better part of a year now. The court is sitting on it. I don't think the court particularly loves the result that the Supreme Court compels, but I think they see the writing on the wall. That's where the court's going, and those are the precedents we're trying to create here.
She thinks about this absolutely correctly. She is absolutely right. The majority of day-to-day infringements are state by state. Obviously, we have issues like the NFA. That's 100% real, right? Obviously, I would never deny that. But the reason I cover so much about what Harmeet Dillon says, so much about, obviously when Pam Bondi was around, what Pam Bondi says, is that this is actually how your day-to-day laws are decided. It is whether or not Harmeet Dillon chooses to put her best lawyer on, the Virginia assault weapons ban case, right? It's whether or not she chooses to do that decides whether you get to buy an assault weapon ban 2 months from now. An assault weapon 2 months from now. That's what affects your life. And the reality is, okay, the NFA, do I want to fight the NFA? 100%. Is that going to happen in the next 1 to 2 years? Probably not. Probably not. But can we knock out all of these terrible, draconian, unconstitutional gun control bills, especially, in the state of Virginia? Yes, we can. 100% we can. It is 100% doable. It is 100% feasible. And we have her 100% on our side. I'm going to play for you one more clip. If you can, please do check this out. I think it gives a little bit more sense. She's absolutely thinking the correct way. And this is a remarkably positive sign. Again, the reason this is breaking news is because this gives us a vision for what will happen, right? When the lawsuit's filed, that's not going to be that interesting because it is clearly going to be filed, right? The breaking news is what's happening now, not what happens a few months down the road, right? You got to look down the chessboard a bit more. Anyway, here you go. Here's the clip.
I want to ask you about this lawsuit out of Denver. Blue cities, it's no surprise that they are some of the worst offenders when it comes to the Second Amendment. But this is what, a 35, 36-year-old law on the book banning a lot of really commonly used firearms. Talk to us about why you decided to take this one up and if there are other cities out there who might get the same Harmeet Dillon DOJ treatment because there are a lot of these types of laws on the books in blue cities.
So first of all, I'm really excited about this. I want to thank the president for setting the tone at the beginning of his administration and having an executive order that made clear that the Second Amendment is a first-class right in the United States. And both Pam Bondi and Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche have fully backed that up. And so we demanded that Denver end its criminalization of its citizens owning, let's just, use a shorthand, AR-15s, semi-automatic rifles, and a number of other firearms that are in common use in the United States. And they said no, in a rather terse letter yesterday afternoon, sued them this morning in federal court. And we intend to make sure that citizens of Denver have the same rights as citizens of the rest of America. And we do have other cities like this. District of Columbia also has a similar ban. We sued them already. And we will be absolutely looking for other opportunities. And there are other types of issues as well. But I think the AR-15 ban is one that really is a kind of low-hanging fruit because the Supreme Court held in a 9-0 opinion in the Smith & Wesson case that the AR-15 is the most commonly owned and operated rifle in the United States. And so, when you add that statistic to the ruling in Bruin, and in Heller, which talk about firearms that are in common use, and for law-abiding citizens, that leads to the inexorable conclusion that the AR-15 is presumptively legal all over America, and denial of the right to own it, and in fact, criminalization of that in Denver is something that is long overdue to be updated, and we intend to make sure they do that.
She gets it. She 100% gets it. And I see this all over Second Amendment Twitter. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon is not Pam Bondi. She is not Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi supported red flag laws as Attorney General of Florida. She supported 18 to 20-year-old handgun bans as Attorney General of Florida. That is not Harmeet Dillon. And just because they are in the Department of Justice does not mean they are anti the Second Amendment. And she is the case in point of that. She gets it. She is fighting for us. And honestly, we have to take these wins as they come. Anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe down below. I just want to keep you abreast of all this kind of stuff. I think it's really important. If you did enjoy the video, though, please do subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.